Hello and welcome to the BurnCast. I'm Brady Byrne.
And I'm Kim Cass.
Today we're looking at Shrew Island by Robert Harrell and Hide the Bones by Levi Fuller. As always, any criticisms directed towards the authors or works that we discuss are exaggerated for entertainment purposes and are not meant to be taken personally. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
Happy Halloween, everyone!
Yes, for this very special episode of the BurnCast, we went to Amazon looking for spooky books to talk about, and we found Shrew Island and Hide the Bones.
Yes. Now, one has bones in the title, and the other has bones on the cover.
Yeah.
Now, Shrew Island, I know that does not sound intimidating, but when you see the cover, you'll see why it's so scary. Now, this is a plastic skull on the floor, on the grass outside. Surrounded by twigs. And it's, who knows? Shrew Island, and then I'm looking at a skull. That's pretty spooky.
Yeah, and honestly, it was kind of hard to find Halloween-themed books or horror books in general to put on the show. And these were genuinely the best two we could find.
Yeah, well, it's my little specialty for the special edition episodes of the podcast to select books for Brady to read. When I first present Halloween books, he doesn't want a bar of it. So instead, I do the selection by myself, and then I present the books to him, and he can pick whichever one he wants.
Yes.
Now, you looked at Shrew Island, and you said no to Shrew Island.
Well, I read more on the descriptions than the titles. Hide the Bones seemed like a very creepy detective story. I mean, I thought that it sounded pretty spooky. And Shrew Island, which was billed as the Jurassic Park
of shrew fiction.
Yes. It's expanding genre these days.
Yeah. Well, you see them all the time.
Yeah.
It's Shifter Romance, Cowboy Billionaires, and then Shrew books.
Yeah. And I thought, you know what, I'll let you take that one.
Huh?
I thought Hide the Bones was going to be the real horror story and that Shrew Island would be kind of the joke one.
We'll see about that as we go.
Again,
in our special episodes, we each read a book and then we present it to the other. So I don't know what happens in Hide the Bones, and you don't know what happens in Shrew Island, although you could probably make some guesses. And you would be wrong, because nothing happens in this book.
Oh, God. Well, why don't you tell me what does happen in Shrew Island?
So Shrew Island starts off in the foggy depths of horror fiction. I mean, it's strange. You see these books and they pop up in different genres. And then after reading the books, you go, there should be some sort of classification. I mean, is there a scare factor to get into horror, or is it just like, you can put anything under horror, so providing you put a skull on the cover.
Yeah, that's what makes it horrifying.
Usually when there's a skull on something, it's supposed to be scary or bad for you. A jar of poison, for example, might have a skull and crossbones on it. That tells me, don't touch this, or at least don't handle it without care.
Someone's Halloween prop in their backyard.
You stay away from that backyard.
Yeah, that's a spooky book.
Yes. Now, the title does throw you off a bit, I will suggest. But I was pleasantly surprised because the book was written actually quite well. Now, I did not find this book actually by itself. Oh. No, I found the sequel.
Oh.
So I found Shuswap.
Shuswap?
Yes. Now, that is the latest release. But I thought, because that might be a little bit gauche to start off on the second of Shrew books. I mean, it kind of...
We got to start from the beginning.
Yeah. With Shrew, I want to know, I want to know how the whole thing exploded, into this crazy world of Shrew fiction that we now have.
Yeah, perhaps someday we'll get the full Shrew saga.
Yeah. Trilogy, quadrilogy, I don't know. How many Shrew books can one write? It's like a Guinness Book of World Records, right? And no one set the limit for how many books one man can write about shrews. It just hasn't been done. So, this book was a pleasant surprise, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people say the BurnCast is getting stale, but we're still covering new ground here.
Yeah, this is really unexplored territory. A lot like what the book does.
Oh.
Now, we start off with a unnamed main character. Now, she is a university student at UNC. That's the University of North Carolina.
North Carolina. I used to live in North Carolina.
Oh, interesting factoid there. Now, we have this unnamed main character being very secretive in first-person narration. How she wants to exclude the names from this confession. It's like this is the tale I will tell over this subject and over the deaths on Tychus Island and the whole thing. It's like an expose, you know. It really is. And it actually carries the vibe, you know. It does sound like you're getting into a steamy tale that's like really a little bit like, you know, now I'm hearing it firsthand. What? Finally we know what happened on Shrew Island, you know. Now we get some answers. So
Finally.
She's detailing this zoo that it used to be kind of like a spooky zoo, like look at our craziest creatures and we have a woman with a beard type stuff, you know. Like where they used
more
to
like a circus.
Well, yeah, a mix between a zoo and a artifact show. I don't know.
Okay.
So this character is sent there because they've had a call that they want some of the artifacts analyzed, you know, to see if they have anything of value. So she fires down there in her recollection. And she comes upon the zoo headmaster, a lady named Jane, who is excited to have her here. She's a very nice lady, and she says, please go through our collection and see if you can find anything of value.
Okay.
And she does this, and she comes upon some journals from the original owner, Jane's great-grandfather, who, you know, was one of these post-World War explorers, you know, like a Shackleton or a Speck or something like that. Yeah?
Yeah.
And so this guy has journals detailing his travels, you know, into uncharted territory, you know, just like this author is taking a deep dive into uncharted shrew territory.
Yeah.
No one's written these books before. It's an original idea. And and she's reading about it. And this is the point in the book where I thought, actually, maybe this book, to all surprisingness, is too good for the BurnCast. I mean, it had this point where, you know, like you get 20% in and you're like, actually, I'm with the story. I'm here.
You're with Shrew Island.
But yeah, this is a little bit like spooky, you know. It could, because the journal was detailing this man's adventures to New Guinea and these islands in the Pacific, and he's encountering cannibals and mystics and all sorts of stuff, you know. There's a great scene where he's detailing when he was in Zanzibar, and he's like the great slave port, and like it has so much flavor. And they say, no, what, you shouldn't step off the port here. You know, like they'll kill any white man. It just has this like element of danger, even though you're reading it. Yeah, you're reading her recollection of reading his journals. But it does work.
Now, the way you're introducing this makes it sound like that quality of being kind of good did not retain throughout the rest of the story.
Well, I said that at 20%. Yes, I thought, boom, what a great... And so many of these books do have... They have about 10, 15, 20% of steam, and then they run out. Yeah. They run out of gas.
Front-loaded with the author's skills.
Yeah, so front-loaded with skills and editing, and then they usually drop all that for the rest. Because maybe it's something like the author doesn't really expect anyone to actually read past 20%.
Well, I mean...
Well, why bother, right?
Most of us who are trying to get into the shrew genre are collectors. You know, we collect the hot new titles in the shrew category, and we that's where we stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I just buy these books for the cover art, with the skull. So we have a journalized journey post-World War I, this man going and he collects some artifacts secondhand from someone who had visited this secret shrew island out in the Pacific. Now, she reads this and then does, in fact, see the artifacts that are still stored at the zoo. And she's going through them and she notices some strange claw marks or stuff like that, but she doesn't really take
shrew marks.
So, and then she goes back to Jane and she said, wow, I found some journals. And she's like, I didn't know we had those. Which is great because, like, she's called someone to literally go through this artifact room, and she hasn't even looked in there yet. And she's been she's the granddaughter, and she's worked for the zoo.
Writing starting to fall apart.
Yeah, but we moved past it. It's fine. Maybe it was just underneath a box or something. Who knows? And they decide to rejuvenate the zoo because it's been an embarrassment for the family or something like that, because they keep lions in cages and it's like a big animal rights thing, but they don't have enough money to upgrade their facilities. There's stuff going on, but basically,
and this is like 30, and there's no shrews
she's explaining,
yet at all.
No, it's just about the zoo in Wilmington in North Carolina.
Oh my God.
And what they are really, I guess if it's a point of conflict, is that they want to redo the zoo, and she is trying to do her dissertation on something, so she needs to figure out, and maybe she has an avenue here.
Yeah.
And so she says, like, look, you've got some artifacts here that seem to be quite valuable. I would need to go through them, and study them with more detail. And I also think that we have these journals, and there's a great tale here, and blah, blah, blah. And then she basically signs her up as like the, help me make it, we'll transform the zoo into like a modern, zoo / museum. We'll display these artifacts. We'll have, educational things, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And this carries on, so forth. Until about 70% of the book.
What?
Yep. So everything goes swimmingly. There seem to be no issues with this plan.
What?
She does well from place to place. They go to Bojangles a lot. Now, I don't know what Bojangles is, but they go there a lot and they enjoy it a lot. There's something about biscuits, I think, were involved. It's a restaurant, but I don't know what a biscuit is either.
Yeah. Let me clear this up for the non-Americans out there. Bojangles is a fast food joint where you can get.
Because I guess with a name like Bojangles, it might seem obvious.
Yeah, you'd think it would be a classy affair.
Yeah, well, Jane's the owner of a fucking zoo, and the main character, the UNC student, seems to be like quite the literate, not fancy, but, she's well-to-do. She's not a degenerate.
Yeah.
So,
are you saying intelligent people can't enjoy a fine drumstick of fried chicken?
No. I didn't know they served fried chicken at Bojangles. My point is that if you're going to Bojangles after every interaction you have, maybe it's questionable. I mean, is she picking up like what, a 20-piece bucket like every time she studies 5 minutes of shrew stuff, and then then we fire down to Bojangles.
Yeah. I mean, Bojangles is a place to get fried chicken with a side of mashed potatoes and gravy.
Now, this podcast is not about making you hungry, but we apologize for the taste factor that isn't included.
Yeah, now sometimes these drumsticks can be quite spicy.
No, so and just like the story, sometimes stories can be spicy. This one's quite plain. So we have, they're redoing the zoo. It's going fantastic. She's learning about this Tychus Island. It's controlled by the Chinese government and is home of a fancy resort. No one's allowed to go there except by invitation. James Bond was filmed there. Shrew Island. Bojangles. And everything is going well, And I say this often on the show, actually, that if everything is going well in your story, then why the fuck are you writing it? Like, there needs to be some problem or something going on. You had this initial mystery, and that's like the hook, like, oh my God, there's Shrew Island, this mysterious man's travels, and we have these artifacts, and who knows what's going on? Yeah. And when are we going to go to Shrew Island? That's what I want to know at the beginning.
When are the giant shrews going to break out of the shrew encampment and terrorize
everybody?
Wilmington.
Yeah. So, but no. We just get a lot of success story stuff until 75% in the book. And then they ask the Chinese government for our exhibit, can you please send us 2 shrews? And they just send it. They say, absolutely, we can do that for you. No problem. Way. So they don't go to Shrew Island, and there's no complication with getting like...
What? They don't go to Shrew Island at all?
No, of course not. Why? Did you think that just because the book was called Shrew Island? What? No, they don't go to Shrew Island. They don't go to Shrew Island, and in fact, you don't see a shrew until 75% in the book.
But there is a shrew in the book.
Yeah, there's shrews. There's 2 shrews. We got 2 shrews in Wilmington. Wilmington with 2 shrews, no Shrew Island involved. That's owned by the Chinese government.
I mean, like, it has to be even harder to not write the story that this clearly could be, right?
Like, well, maybe she. I don't like. What problem could you have? Like,
well,
shoehorning. You're writing a book about fucking shrews, and you can't get your characters to Shrew Island and back.
I heard it's a 20-piece drumstick meal, and I only got 15.
This is the calculation that went on in the author's mind: is that, well, if I took them to Tychus Island, how am I going to get to Bojangles? They don't have Bojangles there. Well, let's go with Bojangles over Shrew Island because like, go for the short thing.
Oh my god.
So, they do go to Bojangles. They do not go to Shrew Island in the book Shrew Island. And now the shrews from China have been sent. Their exhibit is set up. There is an interaction where they have a nasty reporter that, is rightfully angry about the zoo's existence because they keep lions in cages. And he gives a very nasty set of questions to the new university exhibit manager lady, the main character, which I found quite funny. He basically asked her really like, so what are your qualifications, huh? Like, what do you know about shrews? and it does come, and she's like, well, I'm not, a biologist. I'm just a
shrew enthusiast, not an expert.
Yeah, and then he's like, okay, so we have someone who doesn't know what they're talking about a subject that they know nothing about. It's like, yes, that's an asshole thing to do at a press conference, but it's also like, hey, he's got a point. Maybe get a biologist.
Yeah.
Maybe get someone that knows.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like the Manatee Murders, which is like a similar thing of writing a whole book about a creature that none of the actual characters give a fuck about.
Yeah.
And don't know anything about. And actively try to ruin their ecosystems.
Yeah.
And so you've got a character in a book called Shrew Island. She knows nothing of shrews at all.
She doesn't want to go to Shrew Island. She doesn't want to have anything to do with shrews, really. She just wants, I guess, Bojangles and the pile of cash that she'll get from doing this thing. And she's got a good dissertation to write.
So it seems like the shrew genre's first entry does not quite satisfy the heights that the shrew genre could have.
Yeah, well, I will say that from this point on, the story does pick up a little bit in whatever way it can.
If you pick something up from the ground,
you're doing better than if you left it on the ground.
Yeah.
So then there's an emergency at the zoo after the press conference, and they find that a baby camel has been brutally murdered. I mean, just ripped apart, and the guts are eaten, and it's just a mess.
Humps have been drained of milk.
Yeah, they've drained the milk straight out of the humps of the camel. And everyone is going berserk. No one knows what could have done it. Apparently, all the animals are scared. It says that, the main nameless character, let's just call her Girl.
Yeah.
Or MC, or MC Girl. MC Girl walks into the zoo, and even the lions are at the back of their cages with their tails tucked, and their teeth are chattering like something scary happened, and all these animals know it. And they say maybe it was a pack of dogs that broke in and
that would scare a lion?
A baby camel. Yeah, a pack of dogs. Really scares the shit out of a tiger.
The king of the jungle.
Fucking roaring, barking beats that.
Yeah.
So we have this explosive moment finally, 80% into the book. And then they rush to figure out what happened. And of course, the first thing that the main character, MC Girl, does is run over to the shrew enclosure, and she discovers that both shrews are missing.
Oh, shit.
Now, this is a bombshell. Yeah, obviously, you would assume that you have these Shrew Island shrews on your zoo, and a baby camel winds up dead, and you think, of course.
Must be the shrews.
No, you think maybe the shrews have been eaten as well.
Oh, yeah, well, that's her.
It's a jump to assume that the shrews did it, right?
Well, it shouldn't be for us.
On a book called Shrew Island?
Yeah.
So we have our missing shrews, we have a dead camel. And the investigation starts. Everyone is shook up, especially the MC Girl, who, upon seeing the baby camel, shudders away and then thinks that she should go to Bojangles.
My God.
I'm not joking. This is paragraph after baby camel discovery and shrews missing. It's, I need to go to Bojangles.
Yeah.
I need to go to Bojangles to get more chicken and biscuits. Because that's what brings me out of a low. You know?
Yeah.
I eat to solve my problems. So we
20-piece meal, solve any problem.
Yeah. Shrews missing, it doesn't matter. You can't remember anything after you.
Couple of sweaty drumsticks.
Yeah. God. So we depart the scene, we go to Bojangles, we come back the next day. It's a good way to break time up in any story. I'm actually going to use that as a literary device. The Bojangles break. You know, you need your characters to progress through time. Send them to Bojangles for a while. Have them feast, and then have them return. Now things can move on.
Yeah, patch up those worries with a nice honey glaze.
Dear God. This is Halloween. This is the Halloween special. This is not the Bojangles special. We're not doing a Bojangles special right now. Bojangles, if you are listening, we'll take anything.
Yeah, we'll take. Don't send us money. Send us
biscuits. So
we'll take any sponsorship at this point.
BurnCast, BurnCast by the Bojangles.
Yeah,
Bojangles by BurnCast.
Oh yes.
Now, so we have our Bojangles mistress returning to the. We have our Bojangles mistress returning to the zoo the next day, and they discover a dead body. Now, again, distressing. This is the second night of terror at the zoo, at Wilmington Zoo. And oh my God, it's Randy. One of the caretakers has been disemboweled. And he's ripped to bits. I mean, he looks like a 20-piece meal out there. So he's really been shredded, and something nasty has gotten into his guts. And they are all going, oh my God, what could have done this?
A pack of dogs.
A pack of dogs, perhaps. It was actually Randy that suggested the dogs in the first place. So kind of fitting that he's the next person to get bojangled in this story. So after they discover Randy, they decide to arm up. Jane's brothers from New York and Washington are here, and they're arming themselves, and they're all rushing around trying to, let's get the killer, let's find the pack of dogs, or whatever happened. And it's getting quite late in the evening, and it's a bit of a chaos. This is your classic horror chaos scene, if you want one in the story, if you hadn't given up already on seeing anything like that.
Most Carolinians are harassed by packs of dogs daily.
And shrews. Now Jane thrusts a weapon upon the main character, who's very, please don't hand me something. And that's
don't give me something to do in the story.
Yeah, please. I just wanted to make a little bit of cash so I could go to Bojangles. Now, she's a double-barrel shotgun is thrust upon her. One barrel for the one barrel for the chicken, one barrel for the biscuits. Now, a biscuit also being a slang term for a shotgun.
Oh yes.
And we have...
This is all we could pull from Amazon.
You want... seriously, you go into Halloween in Amazon and it's just trash piles. I mean, like...
Yeah, it's either kids' books or erotica.
Yeah, and like you don't really want...
And while those two things would make a great double feature...
Yes, the collision course we're all waiting for. And so we have our character... MC girl with a shotgun, and there's the zoos in pandemonium.
The nasty witch and the happy pumpkin.
Yeah. Santa Claus's slutty Christmas. No, we have our zombie Santa Claus's slutty Christmas.
Yeah.
That would cross paths. So.
Yeah.
So, no, we have our MC girl with a double-barrel shotgun, and she rushes off to the stable and because she hears noises, blah, blah, blah. And, oh, my God, the horse is being ripped to bits by some sort of creature. Of course, she doesn't really know how to wield the shotgun, as was set up before in the story. And she pulls the trigger on the beast, and she manages to kill the creature. Now, it's a monstrous-looking super shrew that is...
Finally.
Yeah, that's been double-barreled, and it's all ripped to bits as well. And they are satisfied with the end of that.
So everything just goes very well in the story, doesn't it?
Well, that's why you eat a Bojangles. It gives you the fuel to achieve. And And
my God.
and they discover that that it has some sort of virus, that some sort of super viroid has infected the shrew and supercharged it with massive manhunting, abilities. And they notice that the marks on the bones of the autopsies that they dig up match the marks on the artifacts, and they take a closer look at the artifacts, and they discovered that the virus was still in the artifacts.
More enhanced manhunting abilities than the normal shrew has already.
Yeah, or any sort of large predator of equal size, like tigers or lions.
Lions are scared of shrews.
Well, we all know that. We're just here to learn about Bojangles.
Yeah, oh my God.
Now they have a great box. They have a great box offering going right now.
Yeah,
you
the money
can pick
is
up
flowing into the BurnCast
Bojangles.
account.
Please, we need this. So we have our autopsy going. We have viruses being picked up. They discover all this, and the zoo is being, blown up basically financially over this drama. Randy's gone. He's out. He's been shrewd.
Yeah.
He got shrewd hard. And they don't know what to do about this fiasco. And the end of the book cuts off and just says,
oh, no.
Because she's been kicked off, obviously, this shrew exhibit is no longer happening. And her whole career is down the drain, basically. The zoo is closing down. So that's the end of that. The zoo's closing down. And the Chinese government is very upset that this has happened. And
that the zoo closed down.
Well, that there's been a debacle over the shrews because they tried to contact the Chinese government and say, you've got a shrew problem. And then shortly after this, the main character is stopped at the university and taken into a secret meeting.
Oh.
Now, in the secret meeting, which is top confidential stuff, university stuff, as we all know, is top secret meetings happen at university. And they basically tell her that they show her this footage. Now, there's been a report that Tychus Island, the Shrew Island, has been blown up by volcanic activity. A volcano's gone off, destroyed the whole island. What in the secret meeting is revealed is that actually shrew attacks started happening on the island, and the Chinese government has now firebombed it.
Shrew? Why would the shrews at Shrew Island turn crazy at the same time as the shrews in the zoo?
They got the virus. They got the shrew virus.
and China was doing what with them? Studying?
No.
Trying to make a theme park.
But yeah, they had a resort there, and the shrews were just in the way.
The next James Bond film was going to feature the shrew
the golden shrew. No, I don't know.
The shrew was going to be a Bond girl.
The virus infects the Chinese shrews, and then they firebomb the whole place. And she sees this. Why is she being told about this? I don't know. I guess they just want to
help with the dissertation.
Yeah, there's any information they're willing to give out. But no, you do hear that, no, it wasn't volcanic activity. It was actually the Chinese government firebombing the island to ensure the shrew threat is completely and unforgettably vanquished. There are no more shrews. They're absolutely been eradicated. There's no chance for any shrews to survive this occasion, and there should be no reason for a sequel to happen.
Well, but you said there was a sequel.
Well, yes, there is a book titled Shuswap, but I assume that that's just a leisurely cruise through, perhaps Mississippi this time, and they'll visit some fast food restaurants there, and maybe they'll even visit Bojangles once or twice. I have no reason to, after reading this book, to assume that the next book in the series has anything to do with shrews or a swamp, because Shrew Island had very little to do with Shrew Island. And in fact, I kind of felt like what I did find really funny about the ending of this book when you're reading, you do hear in the beginning that, oh yes, this island blew up to volcanic activity, and now I'll tell you why, Yeah. So you do know that in the beginning of the book, but I did find it funny that, at the end of the book, maybe there's still a chance that you'll get to go to Shrew Island. Who knows? Maybe they go to, track down the last remaining super shrew or something like that.
Cliffhanger or,
No, I mean, it's just you do hear that this is a cover-up story for this thing.
Okay.
But I did find it quite funny that, we didn't go to Shrew Island in this book, and just to be sure that that we'll never ever touch Shrew Island ever, and that no one will, we'll blow it up.
Yeah,
we'll blow the whole island up, because a book about Shrew Island should feature never going to Shrew Island, and then Shrew Island being destroyed.
Didn't they like kill the shrews with like one shotgun bolt?
Yeah, like she killed the shrews at a Wilmington Zoo with a shotgun.
They're not actually that like deadly. I mean, why
it's just a large shrew. It's just a big shrew. It's just a big shrew.
Okay.
It has a thirst for blood.
Camel milk.
Yeah, and camel milk, apparently. And Randy. Randy's on the tongue. Probably would have a taste for Bojangles, too. We'll never get to find out unless that is what Shuswap is. Maybe the swamp is Bojangles and the shrew is going there.
Bojangles' signature taste. Something more than just shrews would kill for.
Yes. Now, Bojangles, you can use any or all of this information to your discretion, to your advantage in the marketing world. Please, a couple of paychecks our way would be appreciated, but, we do this for the love of Bojangles. Yes. So that is Shrew Island.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I guess. I had to read it. No one else. I'm not suggesting you read it. No one has to read this book.
Does this have anything to do with Halloween?
No. Well, what could we do? I go through Halloween books. I do my research. I look around, and if the best I can come up with is Shrew Island, please take that as an earnest remark that honestly, there's not much out there.
Okay. Wow. I'm going to take a gander and say that you did not enjoy Shrew Island in the end.
Yeah, well, okay. I didn't hate it, as maybe that's the best way to say it. I definitely didn't enjoy it, no. But I will say that, like, especially the first 10%, that's worth $1.
Yeah.
And then the rest you can probably skip.
Maybe play Tomb Raider if you.
Yeah, anything else really. Play Pac-Man, and you'll get a better story out of that.
Okay, well that was Shrew Island, and when we come back, I'm going to be talking about Hide the Bones. So I read Hide the Bones.
Hide the Bones. Now, out of the two, this one did look a little bit more professional.
Yeah. Hide the Bones is billed as a hard-hitting detective story with lots of death, lots of mystery, lots of intrigue. And I did not read Hide the Bones.
You didn't read Hide the Bones?
No.
This happened last time on the Christmas special. I selected you a great book and you put it down.
Yes. But, that left me with Silent Night of the Living Dead, and that one did end up being great. And I thought, it's going to happen again. I tried to read Hide the Bones. I really tried.
Now, it was very difficult for me to find anything out there. So I cannot imagine, I scoured Amazon for anything Halloween related, and I ended up with things that were shrew related. So I didn't even really hit my mark.
Well, as it turns out, Hide the Bones was barely even detective related. It was just another one of these bullshit social fantasies with a bit of mystery sprinkled on top. It was about a girl whose father is the new police chief that's on everyone's ass, and is she gonna date her old partner or the suspect of the case? And there were no bones hidden at all anywhere in the 30% of it that I wrote.
She was thinking about where she should hide the guy's bone.
Yes. And so I put it down. I just dropped it.
You just dropped it?
Yeah, and I went back to Amazon and I started looking for something else because
that's where I'm raising my eyes in concern, because I'm saying, what book could you find?
Honestly, I looked around for a long time. I actually read several full books trying to find.
I did hear some sounds coming from your corner of the house, and I did wonder what was going on.
I read 3 or 4 full books, hoping that something would happen at the end of them that would be spooky. I even read one called Wasp Island.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, inspired by my good find.
Yeah. Wasp Island actually starts off with them going to Wasp Island, and there are wasps
leagues above Shrew Island.
It was too good.
It was too good.
Yeah, it's too good. So I put it down as well. And the book I actually landed on in the end was Shuswap.
No.
Yes.
You just read the sequel.
Yeah. Look, I
What did you know about Shrew? Because I wasn't saying
nothing.
much.
I didn't know anything about it, but I knew you were enjoying Shrew Island, and I thought maybe
and me sitting on the couch, loving what I'm doing. my huge frown, really inspiring you to pick up the sequel.
Well, you were saying like what? I thought there must be some really surprising twists and turns.
I say what every time they go back to Bojangles.
So yes, I read Shuswap because I thought maybe I chose wrong in the end. Now, Shuswap, similar yet different to Shrew Island, same Halloween prop skull on the cover, this time placed in, I imagine, the writer's neighbor's pond. Now, let me tell you about Shuswap. I'm
excited for this
yes.
because, finally I'm going to get all the answers to all my questions that I do not have.
And I actually have some answers too, because I read the sequel without knowing what happened in the first one. However, the beginning of the story does start off with a list of the things that happened in Shrew Island.
Just a list.
Well, it's like the character going through, here's what happened and what I need to keep a secret.
How many times did I go to Bojangles over the last year?
Well, actually, there's no Bojangles talk in Shuswap. That was a new element.
That's an oddity.
Yes.
That's really breaking from tradition.
Yeah, the licensing
ran out. You get one book out of us.
No Bojangles in Shuswap. No shrews in Shuswap.
No shrews. No shrews. You don't even get shrew.
No, there's
not. Is there a swamp?
Well, there are no shrews in the book at all.
There's no shrews
in the book. There's no fucking shrew in Shuswap.
That's unbelievable. And like I thought Shrew Island was disappointing because, but at least there were shrews in the book.
Yeah, there are no shrews in Shuswap. They barely go to the swamp at all.
What? But I don't get this. Because like if I'm gonna write a book and it's titled "Fast Cars Going Fast," and there are no fast cars and no cars go fast at all, then I feel like I've kind of failed at the title of my book.
No, but what you want in a sequel to Shrew Island called Shuswap is to see the main character go to very nice breakfasts with Jane.
Yeah.
Talk about how she's being followed for keeping the secret of Shrew Island. Go out to nice dinners with a boy who's interested in you.
That sounds a lot like what I was reading. A lot like if this just, my life is going great and there are some minor things happening, but honestly it's the breakfast, lunch and dinner, maybe a Bojangles trip, but otherwise.
Yeah, no Bojangles in this one, but they do have a nice round of sushi while they're digging up Randy's corpse.
It's so funny how we read these books while they dig, what? They dig up Randy's corpse?
Yeah, no.
In the swamp?
Yes, they dumped him in the swamp.
Yes.
And main character, MC Girl, explains that in the North Kakalaki swamps, the properties of the microbes preserve things very well.
Okay,
and so Randy's body likely contains the shrew viroid.
So they need to exhume him and beat it out of him.
Yeah. Well, the actual shrew viroid was being kept in Atlanta and it was stolen from the lab and taken to the Pentagon or something.
As things are.
Yeah, and so the girl wants to finish her dissertation, so they go up and dig Jane's good friend
Randy.
They dig up his body to scrape his flesh.
I bet he would look like a 20-piece set of Bojangles.
Yeah, well, maybe the aftermath of a 20-piece set. just shredded, just bones and shredded skin. And they scrape his body for true viroid material so that she can finish her fucking study. And Jane is basically unaffected by this. The main conflict in the book is because MC Girl gets asked out by a boy who asks her about her work, and Jane tells her he's probably a spy for China. And MC Girl says, no, he just actually really likes me. How could you not believe someone would be totally into me? And my work is just so interesting.
It's weird, though, because, like...
That's this whole book.
Really? Because, like, Jane and MC Girl have a flourishing relationship over the first book. I mean, they really, like, I was going to ask you before, is there a romantic element? Is there some sort of lesfic coming up?
No, not as far as I can tell. They have a nice breakfast after the exhumation of Randy's body. All things are well following that. In fact, to go dig him up, it takes 2 days, and they pause overnight to have a nice round of sushi.
Of course.
Seafood, of course, complementing
grave digging,
unburial of your best friend. And Then there's...
Maybe that's Randy's skull that's on the cover.
It could be, yeah. And that's pretty much it. There's a shrew attack, but it's not actually a shrew. It turns out it's just a possum.
Who does it attack?
It attacks some hunters, I guess. There's a possum that gets into Randy's bones and gets the shrew viroid and turns into a giant possum. Attacks people. Jane runs over it with a car. And then the secret agents come to MC Girl and tell her the boy you went out with was a Chinese spy and you need to keep this a secret. We're going to plant listening devices in your house to monitor you. The end.
That's it.
Yep. There's like one swamp scene, 3 breakfast scenes. And no shrews to be found in Shuswap.
That's like the perfect complementary side scene as you go from swamp, Bojangles.
Yeah.
Swamp, Bojangles.
To be honest, Shuswap read a lot like an epilogue to Shrew Island. Because it was very short and basically nothing happened.
Well, it sounds like the first book, to be honest.
I mean, how hard is it to write like Jurassic Park with shrews and then to have them like die in the first book and then like rise out of the swamp in the next book?
Like, you could do so many things. I mean, like, far be it from us to rewrite Shrew Island and Shuswap, but, you know, why not? Basic, off the top of my head, right now off the top of my head, shrews imported to the zoo, shrews go crazy, kill a bunch of animals and maybe some people, maybe Randy gets blasted to bits.
Yeah.
They solve the shrew crisis, and then they throw these corpses away, or maybe it was, Randy got thrown away, and then they discover that it's actually a virus that can be passed on through humans. And then Shuswap, they dig up this, maybe some raccoons get into the thing and they spread the virus, and then all of a sudden Shuswap is like the raccoon revival of the shrew incident that happened at Wilmington.
See, I was thinking something different. I was thinking, the whole Bojangles angle in Shrew Island would come into play in the way that the viroid would get on some of the drumsticks and then would get out to the general public.
Yeah, or a couple of biscuits loaded with the viroid.
People would start turning into shrews and it would be shrew mania.
Yeah, maybe Bojangles mania. Maybe they're just addicted to Bojangles.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to get addicted to Bojangles anyway, but...
I mean, their spices are irresistible.
I know. Who could resist to that? Viroid or no?
None of that stuff. It was the least interesting sidequel to a book that sounded a lot better in the synopsis of Shuswap than you've explained to me now.
All you got to do is sell the book. You don't have to make the reader read the book. You just got to sell it.
Yeah.
Nice title, cool theme.
Cover with
skull. You got the book sold. Like, you just sell it to a couple of schmucks like us.
A couple of shrew enthusiasts who are thinking they're getting the tale of a lifetime.
Yeah, 2 guys that have too much Bojangles in their brain to really comprehend what your story is about anyway.
Yeah, now let's forget these 2 stories and talk about the real character that has been left in the dust here, the shrew.
Yeah. Now, shrews are fascinating creatures.
Yeah, I've been learning a lot about shrews since I picked up Shuswap and thought I needed a little bit of backstory on the titular character.
Yes. Now, again, one of these creatures, and this is what I love about our podcast, is that we actually, we research things that other people are just leaving on the ground. You know, no one's going into the manatees. No one's going into the shrews.
Despite the political gains they could have from promoting them.
As we've seen in these fictions that we've read. And, it's just simply, it's an insult.
Yeah, it's distasteful.
It's an insult to Mother Nature, really, to deny fiction, creative works about animals like this.
Yes, to elevate one of nature's most neglected but most precarious creatures.
Now, shrews live all over the world. They've infiltrated every ecosystem, and yet I don't see shrews in Harry Potter.
No,
I see griffins and animals that are made up. Where are the shrews?
No shrews in Game of Thrones.
No, of course not.
It's not just men and monsters.
It's not the house sigil of a famous family. No, of course not. No one cares about them. But maybe that is their actual upside. Maybe it is their ability to infiltrate ecosystems and disguise themselves as mice or rats or other rodents, moles and such. and to get away with a lot of the resources the planet holds without being exposed for doing so.
Yes, they are one of the most populous creatures on the planet,
Yeah.
I learned, and I've never seen a shrew in my life.
I know. I mean, if I saw a shrew, I would go, eek, a mouse, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or eek, a mole.
Yes.
As moles constantly pop up and you're just terrified of them.
Yeah.
Those bloody hole diggers.
They get the lions running scared.
Blind, foot-long creatures.
Yes, and all the while, the shrews amass their resources and their numbers and their strength and power.
Now, if you're thinking, Cameron Brady, just get it over with. Do the rewrite for Shrew Island and please, expand the world of Shrewfic, as you're familiar with, and do them justice. And I'm going to say no, because that's not what shrews are about.
No.
Shrews are about remaining hidden, remaining underground, remaining disguised as other creatures, and remaining out of the public eye. And if you want something to take away, if you want a better story, go read the Bojangles menu.
Yes.
Because you will get a better story than reading Shrew Island.
You'll get something a little more flavorful.
And shrews don't need the exposure. Shrews love to remain hidden.
Yes, they stay underground, and perhaps the shrew genre will remain underground for quite some time.
I will protect it.
Yeah.
I will protect it. If anyone out there is going to write their shrew story, I'm going to come after it and I'll give it
Shut it down.
Yeah, shut it down. I'll shut that shit down. No one should be writing shrew books. Not because I think they're shitty things to base books on, but because they want to remain hidden.
They want to remain hidden. So that was Shrew Island and Shrew Swamp. Don't read them.
No.
Don't read any shrew stories from here on out.
No, it's like you wouldn't stick your head into a shrew hole and invade its territory. So, and don't write about things that want to remain secret.
Yes, don't plug shrew holes with your shitty fiction.
Yeah, no, that's not deserved. They don't deserve it.
No.
And happy Halloween, everyone.
Yes, we unfortunately didn't find any Halloween books this year.
But too bad, I guess. Bezos, get your shit together.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to
Check
say.
back next year.
When we hit more shrew books.
Hopefully not.
Thank you everyone for listening and supporting the show. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to subscribe and join in the conversation with us on one of our platforms. You can find us on Discord, Twitter, and Reddit. You can support the show through Patreon or just by sharing the show with your friends. Thanks.